We've got the start of a new month today, so we're into February, and the project, if you want to go along with this, if you fancy taking part in this one, is figures. So people in, it can be like, you know, you can work towards something, maybe a drawing or a painting that is based just on figures, or it could be a scene where there's figures included. I thought to start with today, it might be quite nice to just get into a little bit of quick sketching. Possibly do a bit of sketching of each other, that sort of thing, a little bit of work from life. I'm a big fan of working from direct observation, and mostly drawing and painting that I did when I was doing my college stuff was a lot of life drawing, a lot of working, you know, from models. I do most of the drawings I do of people now are just, you know, people I see out and about. So these I did on Saturday on the train. That's another one. Some little girl draw it on the phone. So I brought some sketchbooks in here. If you want to have a look at any of those, you're very welcome to have a look. But I find that practicing drawing people, it's just, for me, when I go out painting, it's quite a nice way of just getting my eye in, just as a bit of a warm-up exercise for me. So I don't really put a lot of, you know, I'm not too worried how they come out, but it's really just a chance to just practice, you know, looking carefully at the world around me. So, although I'm going to work with whole figures, I thought I'd just start with maybe, well, this was a head sketch from this morning. I ended up having to be awake up this morning, so I just did a little bit of it. I thought maybe I'll do a little bit, so it's from this photograph of my boys from quite a few years ago. I thought perhaps do a little bit of him, Linda. So this is obviously like a head square on, and I'll recap on this. So the way, this is one way that you might find quite useful to draw, is to have maybe draw in a couple of colours. So if you use sort of a lighter colour just for all your working outline. So this can be like working out where the structure of something would be, roughly the shape of things. So it's really what you call the thinking lines, the lines that relate one part of the body to another. And you can apply this to any kind of subject. So that's quite nice to have a sort of lighter tone. And then once you decided you're in the right place, then you could go in with a bit more definition, a bit more detail, and really home in on the exact shapes that you want to work with. So I find that quite a useful way of working. And it encourages you a little bit of freedom and a little bit of just experimentation. So when we're drawing, so that was this, I'll do a quick recap. I won't do the same demo, but basically what I did was I started with an oval shape for his head, and then went for eye level. Yeah, and if you're drawing a head, you'll find that your eye level is halfway between your chin and the top of your skull. So what happens sort of between here and here, when we're looking at somebody, isn't all that interesting. It's forehead, it's a bit of hair, and so we tend to focus on this bit. And there's a tendency to want to make this bit a lot bigger than it actually is. But in actual fact, that is only really half of what you see in the skull. So halfway down you'll find eye level, then your eyebrows will be a little bit higher than that. In terms of proportions, people's proportions vary quite a bit, but as a rough guide, between your eye level here and your chin, which would be down here, you think a nose, perhaps about 2/5 of the way down would be your nose. Yeah. So you'd expect, it's useful to have a bit of an expectation of where that's going to be. Around about 2/5. And then there might be perhaps another 1/5 from the nose to where the lips meet, maybe another 2/5 for the chin. And people vary. Some people have got very long chins, very short chins. This distance varies quite a lot with people. But just a kind of ballpark figure. When it comes to eyes, you'll find that between your eyes, there's at least an eye's width. So in this case, Bryn, my eldest son, he's fairly wide between his eyes. I've drawn him quite a few times, and he's about an eye and a bit, maybe about an eye and a third or an eye and a quarter. I've never come across anybody who's less than an eye's width, but I've seen lots of student drawings like that, where there's very little space between there. Basically, because we're more interested in the eyes than the space between them. So that's something to look at. It's sort of like something to have in the back of your mind. A bit like when we looked at the perspective and 2-point perspective last month. That eye to a sort of vanishing point. It's a useful thing to have in the back of your mind. So that's just something to kind of bear in mind when you're drawing people and people's heads. So in this case, I'm going to have a go at Lyndon. So I would start probably with roughly an oval shape, something like that. And then what I'm looking for is where his eye level would be. In this case, he's very slightly looking up. He's sort of slightly looking either up at his brother or just slightly out to the left. So I'm thinking eye level a little bit like that. And then the middle of his features, if you imagine almost like an imaginary line drawn through the middle of your features, in this case, it will be at a slight angle like that. Yeah. That's more or less the alignment of his features. And then from that, I could then think, well, actually, his eye's probably going to be about there, perhaps nose there, mouth there, chin there. And this side, I can't see much of his eye because it's kind of disappearing around the corner because our faces are rounded. That's going to go in there. His nose is going to come out of it. His ear, I can't quite see the top of his ear, but if I follow the line of his glasses, that's going to be about on that level. His ear's got to be somewhere there. You see the bottom of his ear. What you'll find is that, say from the corner of the eye to the back of the ear, in terms of, if it was complete profile, like that, that's got it. Seeing something like that, you'd find that the distance, say, between the corner of the eye and the chin is about the same as the corner of the eye to the back of the ear. So again, there's a tendency, I've seen a lot of ears being drawn sort of in about here, because again, that bit's not very interesting. So we tend to want to squash all the features together and make them a little bit too big. So again, that's something just to bear in mind. That from there to there, it's going to be roughly the same as here to here. Yeah. So this is more of a 3/4 view, so it'd be slightly closer in. But once I've got that as a basic kind of structure, I could have a look at, well, I want to, probably haven't left enough room very much to draw his neck. The middle of his neck is kind of going down that way. His shoulders, one shoulder's over here. The other shoulder, I think, is slightly lower. Probably the back of his neck. If I follow that, I think that's going to be about here. Again, it's a little bit difficult. And then probably just rough in where his high hairline would be. Something like that. That gives me a basic structure. Yeah, his shoulder pretty much lines up with his chin. So that shoulder's going to be over here. This shoulder over here. And then kind of work through his jacket and his neckline. I think, that'd be quite a nice rough armature or thinking lines to work on. And then from there, I'll go into a darker tone. I like to work from the left because I'm right-handed, so if I draw in the left-hand bits, I can see what I've drawn when I'm working across. So he's got one eye here, it's quite hard to see, but there's something like that. A bit of his glasses, which come out to about here, about there. You can see a little bit of his eyebrow. And it's important to remember that, like with our, we've got our eyes here, but the whole eyeball will be there, and the eye socket. So eyebrows are going to be a lot higher than perhaps sometimes we imagine. Again, that's something I've seen. I've seen students draw an eye there and then put the eyebrows just in there. But what you've got to imagine is the anatomy of your skull. There's an eyeball there with an eye socket. So that bit, bridge of the nose to there, sort of round that to there. Nostril here. A little bit of a rounded shape just between your top lip there. That would be worth popping in. And then from there, I could start putting the lips. But I'll just move across here a little bit. I quite like to get get somebody's eyes in first. It's always difficult when somebody's wearing glasses, but what I can see there is but if they are, I tend to draw the rims of the glasses in as I draw the face. So that's the front end of the glasses. I think his eye then starts about there, so I probably want to come a little bit further back to where I measured. So that's in there, and then again I've got the other side of his glasses in there. The top of the glasses there, and then I can see a little bit of the side of his eye on this side of the glasses, so that's coming out there. So maybe a little bit out there. And then the side comes to there, side of the nostril there. With drawing lips, I tend to draw that little shape in there, the kind of little bow shape on the top of your lips. He's very slightly got his mouth open, so there's a bit of a gap there. And then his bottom lip, quite often your bottom lip catches the light from above. So sometimes that appears, this top lip might be in shadow, and your bottom lip will be lit up. And what you might find is you just see a shadow underneath the lip. So there's a little bit of shadow just underneath there. So rather than draw, darken it, just draw that bit there. It's worth looking at where the, try and have a closer look. Yeah, where the corner of the mouth is. If that's like the line of symmetry, if I go parallel to that and look for, where the corner of the mouth is in relation to your eyes. So it's kind of sometimes worth drawing lines set down from the corner of the eye, and that might line up with the side of the nostrils. Also, the middle of the eye quite often lines up the corner of the mouth. So that is, you probably see that a little bit more in this drawing. That is lining up with that. Yeah. So it's good to kind of be aware of these alignments, and that's where it's good to then just go back in with your lighter colour and just maybe line some of these things up. So that can come in here. And then chin about there, right that through up to here. And then it's really just kind of working out, hair shapes of the hair. That's coming across here. I think the back of the head's about here. Here, sort of work that into there, a little bit of shadow there. And then, gradually work through the clothing then and the neck and that sort of thing. And what I do is I try and look at where things line up. So that kind of pressed up bit roughly lines up with the side of his glasses. So that could be down here somewhere. So that structure is, particularly when you're starting out drawing people, it's really useful to put those sort of structures in. And I say, like nowadays, I don't do that. I just go straight in with lines. But I'm still looking for those alignments. I'm sort of, when I'm drawing somebody, like this was a chap on the train, I think reading a newspaper or something. I'm still looking for how different parts of the features line up. So, what I think would be really nice is just to do maybe some 5-minute sketches of each other. So if you're facing somebody, you could do a sketch of the person opposite. If you like a bit of sketching, if you haven't got your sketch pad in,
I'm going to just draw
then
one of these.
I've got loads of paper. So if you like some cartridge paper, have a sheet of this, or you can fold it in half. So if you fancy having a go at that, drawing people, or you can, swing around. Do you want a bit of paper? Yeah, there you go. So yeah, come and grab a bit of paper if you want a bit of drawing paper. It could be that maybe somebody sits for 5 minutes and then you swap round. I've got a couple. Yeah, you can have a few of these. Yeah. So just these. So just pick it up. Yes. Oh, there's a few more there. Yeah, some yellows. Lots of yellows. Yeah, so I've got some pastel pencils here. If anybody wants to borrow a pastel pencil, just to do the under drawing, and then you could go over the top something a little bit darker. Yep. Yep.
Hey, that's great.
Yep. Cheers.